Today we're going to lock in. But before we do that, happy or unhappy, 100K to you, depending on how you feel about it. We are going to talk about the long position on Bitcoin that I didn't get it. I got a little bit greedy, I'm not going to lie. But some of the members in the Nexus got this long trade. This setup was given in advance. We're going to talk about how I figured that this was going to be a position, how you could have entered, what my target was. We're going to talk about my current short trade on Bitcoin, which is on the bottom right of your screen right now. And we're going to talk about the long that we had on Solana. So if you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. My name is Geo, and every day I teach you guys why the market moves the way that it does. Shouts out to the Nexus. As always, we're going to talk about these setups here. Okay, let's begin with Solana. Okay, we had a long position on Solana. Oh, I have two of them. Okay, it's the same one, but I guess it's twice. We had a long position on Solana. Okay, and I want to go over why we found this long position. Now, I mentioned on the channel that I'm going to start pivoting the way that I do the channel. You know, it's not going to be so crypto based. It's going to be more so trading based. How I entered this trade, why I entered this trade, what we were looking for, what were the confirmations, etc. And so if you like this kind of content, make sure to hit the like button, but only if I provide you value. If I do not do that, then don't hit the like button. Do not give it to me. Only if you like it. Okay, so the Solana long. Full disclosure, I am out a good amount on this Solana long, even though potentially we could have been targeting up towards $264. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that as well. But I want to talk about why I entered, how I entered, and where I was looking to enter. How did I come up with these zones? Okay, and it all begins with ranges. Okay, it all begins with the ranges. So we're going to hide the position because we know we took that. We know that I gave this exact setup, and I said that I was starting to scale into the long on Solana as a hedge against my short. I was also in a short position, but that I already took profit when I was looking along. Okay, and you know, now here we are. So how did I get into this position? And we entered this one, but we actually had two longs on Solana. So let's talk about it, okay? The very first thing that I always do every time I'm at the top of my morning is I'm looking for points of interest. Obviously, I'm looking for order blocks. I'm looking to build confluence within the order blocks, etc. Right off the hop, you can see here on Solana, we had a nice sell to buy. So I know I'm already interested in this point of interest. Okay, I already know there's institutional involvement in this area. And if we're going to get a bounce, it's likely that we're going to get a bounce somewhere from that area. But do we just blindly long or short these points of interest? Hell no. We wait for confirmation, which leads us to our first position of our long, okay? When we came down to this zone, not only were we leaving nice liquidity above us locally, but we also were leaving nice liquidity above us on a more midterm time frame and on a more macro time frame when it comes to the range, okay? So you have this line of liquidity all the way up to the range high, which is why ultimately we still are targeting those range highs, okay, to take out that liquidity. Now, how could you have entered on this position? Well, I mean, it's quite simple, actually. And by the way, guys, this is how I use such high leverage. You know, people on Twitter are like, oh man, you're manipulating your... No, I'm not manipulating my leverage. I can just... I know exactly where my invalidation is, and it's clear as day. So I don't need to have anything less than like 100x leverage. Anyways, not the point. Okay, so we had our point of interest down here. Okay, we had our point of interest. We already were aware of. We already identified. We were looking for a trade here. Wonderful, beautiful, dandy, beautiful. Okay, what did we get coming into this area? We had high, we had low, we had lower high, we had lower low SFP. Okay, so you could have even started scaling in here, and then you had break. This break right now, and I believe if I'm not mistaken, this is also 5-minute structure. Let me come to the 5-minute time frame. Yeah, so this is valid 5-minute structure as well. When you get a 5-minute structure break coming into a very important level, like we had already indicated that there's smart money involvement at that level, and you have a nice daily level in this zone as well, which is why I drew it out, and you get a 5-minute break, this is your confirmation that this order block is going to hold. So for the most part, if you decide to enter, you know, we don't all have to be 100x leverage traders like myself. If you decide to enter here, you could put your stop below here. And if you lose that trade, it's okay. Like, I'm not saying it's okay. Nobody wants to lose, but you followed the book per se. Let's just say that. You know, when you're playing blackjack and there's like a strategic, there's like playing by the book. This is playing by the book, right? Now, from that point, once you understand where price is going to go, I mean, it was very obvious that just judging by this liquidity, like we were going to at least come up and sweep these highs, probably hit this high and probably hit this high and potentially beyond. So what could you have done to refine this trade even further? Well, I mean, number one, you could have just entered on the exact break. You could have identified that there was a daily level and perhaps entered with market cipher. I did not do that. Okay, we probably had divs here. Let's see. Kind of looking shitty, to be honest. Let's see. Oh, did I just lose my spot? No, I didn't. Yeah, not market cipher. Kind of looks shitty. I've been using more market structure than market cipher. I'm not going to lie. So anyways, I was in the wrong spot. Whatever. I'm not going to go back. You guys can do that on your own time if you want to. So what did we have? Okay, what did we have? We had the break, right? That's already confirmation. After you get your break, you're typically looking for a reconfirmation or a retest of the range-based demand, which was this entire box here, that was created as a result of that break of structure, okay? So you could have limited in here, you could have limited in here, you could have limited in here, etc., right? Now, when you get a reconfirmation on these range-based demands after you're already getting your confirmation, you can just play the exact same game, right? You have high, you have low, you have high, you have low. Actually, you had a more internal high, low, high, and then you had break. So at that point, this reconfirmation is letting you know that this demand is going to hold, okay? So once again, that's more confluence. You can put your stop here if you wish. You can put your stop below here if you wish once you get that break. However you want to play it, right? And something I always preach on the channel is as soon as you know where price is going, right? As soon as you identify where it's going, and you can do that based on the confirmation, the game simply just becomes get the best risk to reward possible. So right now, right off the hop, this target this conservative target of just this like middle of the range, you can see we're just in a range, right? You're just in a range. You have your range high, you have your range high, you have your range lows. When you're like just the middle, basically the midpoint of the range is a pretty conservative target, but you can see that we're at a 7. Oh no, that's the next one. We're going to talk about the next one. The next one's even better. But you're at like a 3, let's say 4 for easy numbers sake, 4 risk to reward right off the hop. Okay, we're at a 4 risk to reward trade. So that's something that's notable, right? And let's just say you entered upon the reconfirmation. Okay, let's say you're on the 2-minute time frame. Sorry for jumping around, but let's say you're on the 2-minute time frame and you entered upon the reconfirmation, which was right here, and you put your stop. So it would be the same target, okay? If you did this and you entered right on the break, let's say even here, we'll even give it to here, and you put your stop loss right below this low, which is valid, you have an 8 risk to reward trade. This is what a lot of people don't understand. Like, this is why I can use high leverage. This is why, I have very clear invalidations with the rules that I, use every day, right? I have very clear stop losses. I have a very clear invalidations. And let's just say, hypothetically, there was an order block down here, right? Let's just say you lose 1% on this trade, okay? Because they could come back for it. You could do this, and then they come back, give you that, and then flip here, right? Okay, no problem. You lost 1%. You took a loss. No problem. Then you re-enter here because the idea is still valid. You just didn't get in on the entry, but there's no way of us knowing whether they're going to bounce from here or from down here in this hypothetical scenario. You play the game again, and then now all of a sudden, look at that. Same target, but you have like a 20 risk to reward based. It's a hypothetical scenario. Anyways, that was the first Solana long. I am not the type of trader that says, "Oh man, I missed the long. I missed it." Like, no, I don't do that. Okay, I don't do that. I don't miss the long and now I don't get in because I don't do that. So what I do after that is, especially if the targets have not been hit, remember, it's quite as simple as understanding where price is going. Once you know where price is going, you are able to get into, really, like you can get in from anywhere if you know what to look for. As I just showed you, you can have a very high risk to reward trade, etc. Okay. So how did we get into this one? Now, this is the one that you actually saw in the P&L. I was long from here. I did take profit on these highs, and then I added more here. And I also don't care, by the way, to add to my entry or ruin my entry, right? I care about the dollar amount. You see what's on the bottom right of your screen right now, which is by no means crazy money, but I mean, it's not bad for one day's work. I care about the dollar amount. I don't care about the percentage. I don't care about the entry. I don't care, right? So what did we have here? Well, this demand held its ground. So we should already expect that this level is going to hold, especially because we have not hit our target yet, okay? What do we have just above that demand? We have more demand that was not mitigated. So remember, step 1 is identify your point of interest. Once you have your point of interest, you know what you are looking for, okay? And that's exactly what we had here. And this is the part that I showed you guys earlier that I gave the nexus. Oh, that's a different thing. That I gave the nexus. This is exactly where we were. What you could see on your screen right now is exactly where we were, exactly what we were looking at. So I'm going to hide this for now. Actually, you know what? We'll keep this on. We'll move it this way. We're going to come back to this in a moment. But let's talk about, let's get this out of the way just so it doesn't confuse anybody. So let's talk about here, right? We played the exact same game, guys. You have your point of interest. You know where your target is. Okay. You swept local liquidity, which is nice. You have your 2-minute break, right? You have your, it doesn't always be 2-minute, by the way. So don't take what I say and just always go by 2-minute, because there are variables to this game here, which is something that I teach in the Nexus. So if you are interested in that, that's the last time I shill it. Sorry. Okay. So you have a 2-minute break right there, right? And that's what I said in the Nexus. Look, I drew the same thing, 2-minute break. Here I said, I've started scaling into my soul against my, started scaling in against my short. Wonderful, beautiful, sexy, beautiful. All right. So in that case, look at this, 8 risk to reward trade up to potentially, though, actually, where was the main target? Let's get this right. I don't want to lie to you. Let's say up to this midpoint line, potentially, and we haven't even hit the target yet, potentially a 9 risk to reward trade. Okay. So this is a testament to, as soon as you know where price is going, the game just becomes get the best risk to reward. So you don't need to FOMO in and put your stop loss like, oh my God, it's leaving without me, FOMO. No, like you don't go in from like here because it looks like it, and then you put your stop all the way down here. I mean, you could do that, but that's not a great risk to reward, is it? That's a 3 risk to reward versus my 9 risk to reward. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather have a 9 risk to reward. Even if I get in later, I'd rather have a 9 risk to reward. Okay. So that was the Solana long, and the Solana long is still going. I mean, look, I think I said at the beginning of the video, we are ultimately targeting the highs, right? Because you have this liquidity. Does it have to do this? No. It doesn't have to come for this liquidity yet. Absolutely not. It doesn't have to. But it's not really common to leave these kind of highs like this untapped. So any long that I'm looking for in Solana, and any long setup that we're looking for, and we're giving in the Nexus, we're shooting for the highs. We're shooting for the highs, which is why you can see clearly I have a short position here as well, because obviously if you SFP that high, you're probably going to come down. Okay. So that is how I entered this position on Solana. It was fairly simple. It was not very difficult. It was not very complicated. And if you're just getting here now and you think, oh man, I want to get the long all the way up to here on Solana, well, I'm going to tell you this. It's the same game. Once you know where price is going, or once you know where it's likely to go, you're very likely, you can just get into another position. This is why sometimes on the same ideas, I have like 5 different trades. That's something, trade management. Sometimes I get out and I'm like, I don't like it. I'm going to get in later. Sometimes I have multiple positions I'm going in. Last week, I posted it on Twitter. Follow me on X. The link is in the description down below. I posted on Twitter. We had a short target on Bitcoin, and I had like 4 trades down to that short. And then I had 1 long up, and it was beautiful. That long I actually got. Anyway, so right now, we had the 2 longs that I just deleted from my screen. But what do we have like right now in this very moment? Well, I'll tell you this. If for me, this is how I trade. If we come down here, look what I have written down. 3 MSF. So if price comes down like this on Solana, and then you get this, well, guess what Geo's going to do, guys? I'm going to long it. I'm going to put my stop below here. I'm going to risk 1%. And this is hypothetical. It's a drawing. It's not always going to be 100%, right? And I could potentially get a 14 risk to reward trade. So I have my alert here. You could see I'm ready for it. The Nexus is ready for it. We're ready to go. And if it doesn't happen, no problem. We're still long, and they could just decide to send it up from here. Okay. So it is our job as traders, number one, to be as objective as possible and understand that when you're at the lows of the range, you should be looking long. When you're at the highs, you should be looking a short, which leads me to my next idea potentially. And I'm not, none of these are set ideas. I rarely do I limit in. Okay. I'm always waiting to see a reaction. I'm always following structure. I always know where I am. Right. So this area is a place that it could reject from. So does this mean that we have to come down right away and hit this? Absolutely not. What could happen is we could, and I think I drew this out for the Nexus yesterday. We come up, we hit this zone, then we come down, hit this zone, maybe this zone that I just saw right now, and then come up. Maybe that's a possibility. Maybe it just tanks. I don't know. But my job isn't to know. My job is to know what I'm looking for. And then when I see exactly what I want to see, I strike. And that's how I can get 164% trades where, the price hasn't moved that much yet, right? The price hasn't moved that much from my entry on Bitcoin, 2%, but I'm up 160%. That's how you can do it, okay? So anyways, that was Solana. If you were in that Solana trade, let me know in the description down below. Let's talk about Bitcoin, okay? Bitcoin. This, by the way, I mentioned earlier that I had a few shorts on Bitcoin. There was one here. It was down to this low. Now I'm drawing this in, but these were trades. The Nexus can testify to that. There was one here. There was one here. And there was one here. There were literally four short positions, okay? Literally four short positions last week. They took a hell of a long time, okay? They took a long-ass time to get there, but they got there. And, yeah. And we were ultimately in this supply chain. So this was supply, this was supply, 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 supply. Supply was holding its ground until it wasn't. And demand, we had demand on the low, and then this demand held its ground as well. So why am I bringing that up? Well, on my boxes here, I have line in the sand. If you're in the Nexus, you know, I've been saying for the past 2 weeks, you know, because we're just in this range, and ultimately we know ranges will either break up or break down. We know we had this liquidity beneath us. So what we were saying, and we know we had this liquidity above us. So what we were saying was any longs we take, we're going to shoot for 100K plus, and any shorts we take, we're going to shoot for 85K minus. Of course, you're going to take profit where it is appropriate to take profit, like on my 4 short positions. Here was the appropriate place to take profit, and you best believe that we did take profit there because we do not deviate from our rules, which is, again, look at my P&L on the bottom right. I've taken profit because I do not deviate from my rules, right? But I have 2 boxes that say line in the sand. We were just in the middle of both. I was like, I don't know which way it's going to break. It could break up. It could break down. Who knows? But this was my line in the sand. And the idea was if they broke this line in the sand, then they're just going to go straight to 100K because there was nothing else between this line in the sand and 100K. And I told the Nexus this, okay? And same with this low. There's nothing between this low, which they didn't actually hit, which we're going to talk about why I wasn't actually in the trade, but some people took it. There's nothing between here and like 85K, basically, okay? So let's go over the Bitcoin long. I'm not going to go over the shorts because the shorts are old news. The long just happened yesterday. And I want to go over the long. I didn't get into it, but I did get into the Solana long, so it's all good. You know, I don't care. I'm not going to FOMO. Let's get into this, and let's talk about what happened here. Very, very similar, guys. Very similar to Solana. This is how I trade, okay? What did we have? On the low of the range, we have a range. Okay, I'll draw a square, and then I'll delete it. This is your range. Very clearly, you know, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to see that that's a range, okay? What happened on the low of the range? Well, your structure was down, up, down, flip, okay? As soon as you get that flip, especially in an uptrend, you're automatically targeting the 100K mark, okay? We already know that we're targeting that. We already know we're looking for 100K. We already know we're in a supply range. We're in a demand range. We already know that, you know, like I said, all longs were shooting for 100K plus. All shorts were shooting for 85K minus. So whatever, we had the bullish flip, okay? This was the most significant sell to buy, okay? Sell to buy that broke this internal structure. So this automatically becomes a point of interest for me. We also had other levels here. We did have some levels lower. Like I wanted a little bit lower, but anyways, doesn't matter. This was the important point of interest, okay? What happened once we came down to that point of interest? Same story as Solana, guys. We have all this liquidity above, okay? You have your structure as down. It's kind of like messy looking, but because we're on the 10-minute time frame. Let's go back to the 2. I like the 2. I don't really like to use the 1 minute. I like using the 2-minute time frame. But what did we have at this level? Sorry for jumping around. This level here. This was our point of interest. Remember, what did we have? On your 2-minute structure, 3-minute structure, probably 5-minute structure as well. You had down, you had up, you had down SFP, and then you had break to the upside. Okay, wonderful, beautiful, sexy, sensual. Okay, now we know that this order block is very likely to hold because this just confirmed it. Okay, I'm going to say that again. So the structure flipped back here to the left. Structure flipped and created this demand. This demand now is confirmed upon this structure flip. We already know we're targeting 100K. Are you following? Okay. So we know we're targeting 100K. Beautiful. What happens now? You leave these equal lows, this easy liquidity that could be run. And we're going to get into like my mistake here because I did make a mistake here. But we swept this liquidity and we knew we were looking for a sweep of this liquidity. Okay. It's very important to identify what you are looking for. Now, I myself very much so wanted to tap this line in the sand because we tapped the line in the sand that was above us, okay, the line in the sky. Now I really wanted to tap this line in the sand, and what I thought was going to happen, we were watching it, okay? What I thought was going to happen was this. I thought it was going to go down, up, down, hit that, and then up and then break, okay? Because we did not do that, I didn't get my trade. Now, there were members, like I said, members in the Nexus that did take this long. I had my initial alert here. I had my second alert here, and I wasn't sitting and actually trading. So I saw the first alert. I was like, okay, I'm going to watch it. and then no other alerts went off. And then by the time, and this was the mistake that I made. By the time that, it was gone, and I was like, okay, whatever, I'll just get the Solana long instead of trying to follow Bitcoin right now. Okay. So that was the mistake I made, was not really, or wanting a little bit lower. I got a little bit greedy and I wanted a little bit lower, and I ended up paying for it. I didn't lose. I wasn't shorting, but I did end up not getting the long because of that. Like I said, the members in the Nexus got it. And to be honest with you, if we play the same game like we played on Solana, and like, what do we do here? Well, what's your structure? You had down, you had up, you had down, and then here you broke, right? Here you broke. Left to right, break, If you decided, you could have literally just right on the break, you could have longed it, put your stop loss right there. Target was 100K. And then whatever else they gave you, right? I said 100K plus, and right there, 100K. You get what I'm saying. 100K plus, and then, 85K minus was the target. If you're still in that trade, you potentially got a 14 risk to reward trade. Okay, 14 risk to reward trade idea right there, just on that. And if you decided to enter based on the fact that, very locally speaking, it looks like a Model 2 accumulation. Actually, it was a Model 2 accumulation here very locally. To be honest with you, if I was watching this properly, I probably would have gotten in. I'll tell you exactly where I would have gotten in. We had a supply right here. We reacted off of supply and we broke that supply. In other words, this is supply failing. This is a supply to demand flip. I'll show you. This is exactly what I would have done. I would have done that. I would have set limit orders here. I would have had my stop loss right here. This is how the trade would have worked out for me had I had not making my mistake, had I had not been greedy, and had I actually been sitting and trading and watching. This is exactly what would have happened for me. And then if I took the loss, which is how I should have played it, I should have taken the loss here, and then I should have just got in again over here if they gave me what I wanted over here. But anyways, shoulda, coulda, woulda. If the money's not down, who cares? You called this, you called that. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Did you put the money down? Shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? So I'm not upset about it. It's still a win. And this is, I always preach get good at losing, because I wouldn't have learned from this mistake had I had not made this mistake. So I'm using this opportunity to learn, and so I don't make this mistake next time. Right there, 39 risk to reward. Wait, actually, let me not cheat. I don't want to cheat it. I want to give you guys fake numbers. I mean, if you held it to the exact top, which you realistically wouldn't have, and we'll go over the short. So maybe I would have gotten out where I shorted, which was right here. That's a 34 risk to reward, guys. 34 risk to reward trade. This is the benefit of understanding where you are, identifying where you are. You can get really, really high probability setups, really high risk to reward setups. Again, I missed it. That's the game though, but I still count it as a win because the idea was there. When I gave this position out, when we did our TA, which we do every morning, it looked like this, right? It included the SFP, and then it was up to the all-time high. So when I give the positions, they're never set positions. It's never entered. We always play the game of trade management, right? This is a 3 risk to reward trade. It's garbage. Like, this is easy. Anybody can do this. But can you do this? Can you do the 30 risk to reward game? That's the fun, okay? Now let's talk about the short position. Do I still have your attention? Have I bored you yet? Now let's talk about the short position that I took, okay? The short position that I took is basically derived off of CVD. Okay, CVD. Bitcoin CVD is so stupid bearish right now. Is so stupid bearish that I would be actually genuinely shocked if we don't have somewhat of a decent correction from here. Okay. Listen, we broke 100K. Everybody got what they wanted. We've been in a massive uptrend for a very long time. I'm not here to say it's going to go down. I don't care. You guys just saw from my 2 examples that I react. I don't predict anymore. I've predicted before in the past, and I've made the mistake, and I'm not doing that anymore. But when I woke up and I saw, hey, like, this is very bearish CVD, like very, very bearish CVD. If you don't know what that means price is making lower low, but CVD is making a higher high, and open interest is making a higher high as well, which means a lot of new longs are coming in. A lot of new market longs are coming into the market, but price is not getting higher because they're being absorbed by the limit short orders, okay? That doesn't mean we can't pop off here. That's why I took profit and covered my ass. But I woke up and I'm like, okay, CVD, and I told the next, I'm like, guys, this is really bearish, right? Actually, let me find out. Let's find out. Let's X this out. Man, I was up all night. I was up literally all night just like giving ideas and whatever. Let's see. Where did I post the bearish CVD? What time is it right now? No. Okay, I don't know where it is, but I let them know. I'm like, guys, it is bearish AF right now. Okay, CVD is mad bearish. And then this morning when we were on stream, we saw how price was developing, okay? We saw all of this. We saw this kind of like, shitty price action. I saw these like shitty candles here, and I saw that, we have this wick, whatever, right? Whatever. So I was like, all right, CVD is mad bearish right now. First time in a long time that I've seen even CVD be that bearish. And so I'm like already thinking, okay, this high is in. Last night when we hit this high, actually funny enough, I shorted like a $50 position up here just for fun, and it ended up working out. And I was making a joke with the Nexus. I'm like, yeah, I just shorted the top of the bull market. Anyway, we saw this is a very strong selling tail. Okay, so we have a good high. We have a very good high for the first time in a while with bearish CVD. So I'm like, okay, I'm definitely not longing up here. I am very much so looking for shorts. And then what do? You play the same game. But look, because I went back and I learned from my mistake on the long where I missed the liquidity, I was thinking, okay, we have some liquidity up here. Wonderful. Fine. We don't need to sweep all of the liquidity. It would be nice to, but we don't need to sweep all of it. So I came over here and I investigated, and I'm like, okay, we have a small baby, but you got to use what you got to use. Little order block right here. Okay, fine. Beautiful. That got hit and gave you a pretty decent move to the downside. So that's already stacking the odds in my favor that, the bearish CVD is bearing right now. Okay, it's doing pretty well. And then I think when we streamed, we were like somewhere here, and I was like, okay, if we come back up above this high, because this wick was also manipulative. At first, I thought this wick was going to be the top. I thought this was going to be the scam wick, and then New York was just going to send it down. Then when we came back up, I was like, okay, if we come back up here, guys, I'm looking for any short I can see truly. And yeah, and that's exactly what we did. And if you just look up here, just look, forget everything you know about indicators and whatever, just look up here. What do we have? What do we have, guys? We have high. Okay? I just had to make sure I was recording. If I would not record this video again. We had high, we had low, we had high, we had low, we had high SFP, and then we just started wicking all over the place. Like this looks like just get your curve tool. Get your curve tool. It just looks like it's curving over. In a very important level where there's a manipulated move. We already know that supply is holding its ground. We know CVD is relatively bearish and very bearish, might I add. And then you start to see this manipulative move. Yeah, you can start going in. And so I started going in. Initially, I was in from, I believe I was in from here initially. And then we popped up like this, and I added more like here. And then we popped up even more, and I added more, and I added more. And so now my entry is, what is my entry? I don't even know what my entry is. My entry is 10. Oh my goodness. 103 and 67. So 103.67 is my entry, just based on local stuff, guys. Local stuff. Very, very local stuff. Scalps. The way that I love to trade is scalps that turn into runners. Okay. Scalps that turn into swing trades. You TP on the first target, and then you let the rest run. Okay. So what do we say? 103. By the time I'm in my position right now on the exchange looks like this. 103 and 60. I mean, I was compounding, so I had looser leverage on this guy. Like I was watching it. This time I was actually watching. And then you're gonna TP1 on this low, which is exactly where I TP'd. Okay. Now that's not a good risk to reward trade, but I was like, this is my average. I was adding, and then now we're here, right? I was also a little bit worried that we were gonna pop up a little bit more, so I was getting ready to add in more if I needed to. But I was very sure. Well, I can't say very sure because nothing is ever 100%. But my plan was that we were not going to take this high. Okay, if we started, I would have held the trade up until we like did something like that. If we started breaking above, I would have closed it. But I was prepared for it, but I didn't think it was going to happen. And so right now, that's my position. And I'm going to tell you guys this: like when you have mad inefficiency like this, and you have bearish CVD for the first time in what seems to be at least at least I'm going to say 3 months, we have bearish CVD for the first time. Well, then, you know, you have that inefficiency that you can fill. And so the idea behind it is actually to come down to here. And the position that I showed the Nexus this morning, this ended up being my average position, but the position that I actually showed the Nexus was a sweep of the high. So if you were watching a sweep of the high and you started to see this reaction, this could have been, now mind you, I did not get it this high in the slightest, but I want to show you how it's possible, like I showed you on the Solana, if you were more patient than I was. This could be, not always, it's not going to be 100%, but could be a 16 risk reward trade, okay? And the idea is very simple. We have bearish CVD for the first time in 3 months. We broke 100K. Everybody is crazy excited. Everybody is, you know, the bears have been trying and getting wrecked on the shorts and just getting wrecked. And then, you know, eventually things are going to turn, okay? Eventually things are going to turn. And they don't need to turn by a significant amount, but eventually they're going to turn, right? So right now I'm targeting down to 99. If it doesn't hit 99, okay, no problem. If it does, great. If it doesn't, no problem. But I'm going to shoot for 99. And if 99 doesn't hold, then you have that you could run for. Okay, you have this nice sell to buy. And guys, we still, like, we front ran this line in the sand level. So I'm not saying this is going to happen, but would I be surprised if we came back down to the low 90s? Not at all. Not at all. And in fact, if we do end up doing that, you're probably not going to hold this line in the sand anymore. I don't imagine. You might get a reaction off of it. But at that point, what I would expect is to come down, hit this, sweep that low, come up like this, and then upon like a structure loss, come down, and then at that point, potentially hit the 85K level. Okay. Those are my trades right now. You know, those are my trades. And that's what I'm in currently. I have a couple of other trades. I have a couple of other trades, a couple of other trade ideas on the fly here. You know, I find it very interesting that dominance is rising again and total market cap hasn't really changed. I believe if maybe I'm tweaking. Maybe I'm tweaking. You got to ask Kenny for that. Kenny's good with the whole macro, non-actual crypto asset stuff. But anyways, I find it interesting that that Bitcoin dominance is rising here. I'm kind of expecting it to potentially keep going up. We'll see what happens. You know, I'm not a fortune teller, but anyways, those are my Bitcoin trades. That's essentially how I approach the market. And you know, this was kind of a missed chance, but that's okay. You know, I got this one, and when there's another one, we'll get the next one. And you know, we actually might have one here soon, because look at what we're getting. We're kind of getting this shitty looking liquidity. And I mean, if you get 1 tap, 2 tap, 3 tap, if you break that, you know, maybe we can long it up as hedge against our short and see what happens, because we already took profit, so we don't care. Anyways, guys, if you like the content, make sure to hit the like button for me. Make sure to subscribe if you like it. And most importantly, sorry, I know this video is very long, but I hope it was very informative. So only if you like it, make sure to give me the credit. Only if you liked it. But if you made it to the end, thank you for making it to the end. And do me a solid. I told you guys I wanted to pivot the channel. This is the kind of content that I like doing. So, and I've already asked that before, but this is a nice video. It's a long video. It's a relevant video. It's a today kind of video. So if you want to see more of these kind of videos, let me know down below. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to add. If you guys are looking to trade with me or on the same exchanges I do, the links for all my exchanges are in the description down below. I don't ever shill that, but I just, you know, why not? So links are in the description down below. Okay, peace out.